Hello and welcome to In Conversation with the One Hour Mentor, Anak Desai. Anak Desai has been a suit for 30 years before he turned mentor, coach, and founder of the One Hour Mentor and OnePlus 99 Experience Consulting. You can learn more about him across social media platforms as @Anak. This is a casual conversation with professionals from various fields. We ask them about their life journey and attempt to gather lessons from their triumphs and failures. This recorded show is accessible on YouTube and other platforms. So let's begin our conversation with the One Hour Mentor, Anak Desai.
Our guest today is Amay Asuti. He followed his family requirements of engineering, MBA, and the usual flow before he started following his heart's passion. Built a digital agency and, as they say, pivoted successfully, and a whole host of other things into something today, which he is proud of. And he's been of immense help in all these recordings which you see and hear today from the One Hour Mentor. Welcome to the show, Amay. So what's been keeping you busy here?
Lots of stuff actually. First was getting all this infra set up to move to work from home.
Okay.
Because not all our guys have laptops, so there are these large machines for editing and for graphic designers.
Oh God. Okay.
So they first went home, and then we had to arrange for that stuff to go back home, and then kind of figuring out a lot of calls with clients, renegotiating on contracts, kind of thinking through what is to be done. So there is a whole uncertainty happening, which the worst thing is nobody knows like for how long. So I have a client who has been 1 year. They want a cut for the whole year, 20% reduction in retainer for the entire year.
Right.
Which is like maybe some guys are a lot more pessimistic than the others. So
yeah, but 20% is a decent cut. I ask him to pay you upfront for the entire year, no?
it's a decent cut.
So kahin na kahin to at least your cash flows don't get affected, no?
True. So the idea is to protect the cash flows, maintain a decent profitability, and not try anything new which is going to be capital intensive for
Correct.
the next couple of months. Yeah.
So there was this one of the questions which is common to everybody who I have been talking to is that school, college, then what? I mean, do you come from a business family? So you did your schooling where, college where, and then why business? So a lot of people have turned from professionals to business, or in yesterday's a couple of cases, it is the reverse, saying entrepreneurs, and then they couldn't take the heat for a long time, and then they decided that let's go back to ek tarikh ko pagar milne wala kind of a thing.
Right.
So how has the journey been for you?
So for me, the journey has been that right when I was in the 11th, 12th standard, I started thinking of starting on my own, because I happened to be in Bangalore at that time.
Okay.
I was studying in Bangalore. I did my schooling in Bangalore.
Okay.
So the whole IT wave was coming up. One would read about Narayan Murthy's and Wipros and Infosys of the world and think that yes, this is something which is now possible in India.
Right.
And it's though my parents coming from like salaried people, both of them, both being teachers, for them their son saying something like I want to be a businessman was not taken in the right spirit. So they said that maybe you need to. So they had the classic template which any middle class family gives. I mean the carrot that is given, right? So they say that you work for a few years and then we'll see what happens.
Correct.
So it moved from your 10th standard is where you need to put in an effort, and then life is all set, to your 12th standard being that, to your graduation degree being the final frontier, to the post graduation,
Right.
and after that saying that okay, you get into a job and
इतना
see how it goes,
करेक्ट, इतना खर्चा हो गया है तो थोड़ा तो
recover kar lo.
Yeah.
And by the age of 40 45, when you have your own house, when you have cars and kids and whatnot, and then you can probably take the plunge.
Yeah.
So that's the template that they were advising, but I wanted to get into it. So for me the journey was that right after I finished my MBA, those were the boom years, 2007. So getting a job made quite a lot of sense to accumulate at least some funds in the beginning.
Right.
So I did work for 2 years in retail industry, and after which take care of my expenses for next couple years. I could take the plunge. So that's how I at 25 I decided that okay, I had 2 years of experience and some money in it, so let me then start.
Okay. And you choose Bombay to start.
I chose advantage of having my own house, so expenses were going to be much lower.
Okay.
Though I had been to Gurgaon, I had been to Pune and Bangalore, I thought Bombay in that sense. A monthly salary, I believe, is a drug. You keep getting it on the first of every month. It's something which is very difficult to get out of.
Right.
So once you have the luxury of not getting paid for a couple of months, that's when your mind starts thinking, okay, I need to really make a system, have a system in place which will pay for this.
Right.
So that kind of helps. I have known people who have done both, who have got back from entrepreneurship to a job and vice versa. A lot of times it's a matter of luck. You begin with a nice idea, sometimes a little ahead of time, you don't make it, you get back into a job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to each his own. We have our own pressure points. So, to be fair to anyone out there, I mean, that you have tried is good enough. I think that also tells you that sometime later in life you can always come back and try it again.
Yeah. So interesting. Now it's been what, literally a decade of your being an entrepreneur, or now more like a business owner than an entrepreneur, because you're 3 साल तो हो गए, तो उसमें डूबा नहीं है, तो अभी तो डूबने का सवाल ही नहीं आता, kind of thing. So in this 10 years, can you share which was your largest failure and your largest success? Which failure in the sense is कि okay, yaar, shit man, I have a good degree, I come from a good engineering background, and screw everything else, let me just take up a job kind of a thing, and the next day morning or 2 days later thinking through, and a wife or family saying no, let's try once again, and you getting back to doing that kind of an extreme to a success where consistently your plans fall into place, and 4 and 5 and 7 people suddenly mushroom into 37, and you don't realize that how are you going to pay this 37, but the money still comes in and it is paid. So both failures and successes, if you can share example.
I would say that as an entrepreneur, actually you go through a lot of mood swings every single day, where like this Corona thing hit, and I was thinking, do I really need to get into all this all over again, or can I shut shop, have some money in the bank, and maybe take a year off and see how it goes later. So you really move from you start taking early on. I think I used to take failure very personally. So you get a so like as a digital agency, you get a good account, you have not been able to do a good job, you know that things are not going right. So I used to work for a very large bank, which was a Singapore based bank, and we did a lot of good work for them. A lot of mistakes which were avoidable. So the choice there was that do we own up the mistakes and continue with loyal people who are otherwise very nice. So they hadn't committed mistakes out of anything else, but just honest mistakes that had happened. So either fire those people or let go of the account. So I chose to side with my people at that time, and in hindsight, that kind of builds in a loyalty, a good team in place, which is ready to face the battle later on. So one of the failures, I would say, was not understanding this whole thing called cash flow. So while you make your Excel sheets, which give you a very good picture of the revenue, would come into your business, nobody teaches you that. Nobody tells you that there are going to be rates on whom you sometimes reach about 30-40% of your net time, and you still need to manage your day-to-day business and also keep on growing it bit by bit. Sure. So not understanding cash flow and this, I mean, sometimes things go well and you've not learned your lessons. But once I got hit by this cash flow tornado, make a lot of margins, the cash is important. So getting into that free cash flow mode was a big learning. Success-wise, I think the success is yet to come. I mean, success cannot be counted in terms of number of people that you have or the kind of work that you do. But just that work doesn't feel work. And if I have reached that stage where, say, after a couple of years, I feel this is not work, this is something which is a part of daily life, I think that to me is being successful. So you kind of are in a nice, happy place. So ideating on a concept, on a campaign, or thinking of a new video concept for a client, if that doesn't feel like work, it doesn't tire you, I think then that's a reasonable amount of success. Then you feel happy about the whole situation.
So what would you tell somebody who wanted to begin another digital agency today with, I think, 60,000 or 70,000 or God knows how many digital agencies around.
Right.
What is it that, I mean, I honestly, from a customer's perspective, I have yet to see, any kind of, what should I say? Differentiation or a USP where, something, okay, maybe a movie बनाता है अच्छा और उसके पास जाऊं या टिकटॉक के लिए जाओ, that's a one-off kind of a thing. But
right.
In general, basic hygiene and engagement kind of a thing, all digital agencies are the same. They give you that same standard ratta, दो Facebook पे दो होगा, tweet आज 4 होगा, ये होगा, and all of that. I mean, then based on how good the copywriter is, they will make releases. So,
right.
Given that scenario, given the scenario that a lot of them will shut and a lot of them will start looking for jobs, if somebody were to start an agency today, what is the factor which could keep them afloat? If they could be afloat?
Yeah. I think it's very important to create a niche, because a lot of times when agencies are growing up, and this is also something mistake, you try and get every kind of work out there. Somebody pays you money, paisa aa raha hai to kaam le lo. Right. That kind of an approach, though it can give you a temporary relief in terms of money in the bank, it really doesn't add to your credibility or add to kind of niche that you can develop. So like you said, a USP doesn't get generated if I'm doing everything and anything which is out there. So anybody who is starting new, I would say has to start looking at a particular niche. So if you say TikTok, can I be a master of TikTok that if it comes to that medium, people see me as the go-to person? I think creating that is critical. So even today there are various media that maybe people of my age will difficult to understand, but somebody who is say uh, 20 years younger has really well and
Sure.
various possibilities. So I think creating a niche, sticking to that niche, even if you temporarily are not making money, is critical. And to me, the second factor is that a lot of the I believe there are two kinds of people in digital marketing out there. There are ones who are very strong on the creative but lack a business sense, and there are others who are very strong on the business side. I mean, they could understand a complicated B2B communication, but are not do not have the strength on the creative side. So striking the right balance and understanding where your strengths lie is important. So as an MBA, I realized that my strengths were more on the business side than on the creative side. Okay. So I could be a good consultant to serious B2B businesses wanting to try digital than going into B2C where I would lack on the creativity, but I would perhaps have very good business insights. So that distinction and understanding is important.
So how large is? I believe you renamed your company also in between this 10 years, so to speak.
Right. So I started as to my mind, the thought was that we were beginning as a social media agency, but as we ventured into doing more things digital, needed an identity which could kind of span a couple of related things. So we named ourselves to Future Ready Media, and but that was also it's been of existence as Future Ready Media now.
Okay. I saw what you have some Orange Video or something.
So Orange Videos is a sister agency that we formed.
So looking after a different.
Looking after making videos. So purely as a creative video agency, doing video production, because that was a large part of what we started doing about 3 years ago, creating a lot of video content. And gave that a new identity as Orange Videos.
So this video content, like everybody else, I mean, everybody is a content creator today, number one.
Right.
Number two, worse than that is probably, everybody claims to be unique in their video content. Don't worry, I can see her and let her play around. We are not on BBC or anything, so don't worry about it. Say hi.
You want to say hi? Okay, say hi. That's my daughter Ira.
Hi Ira, how are you? So you are no school, nothing, right?
She has some Zoom calls. So they have a term ending party on Zoom.
Wow. Which school is that?
This is
Oh, very nice. So when is it due? When is the party?
Today. It's today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's today, 28th. Yeah, today.
I
believe I've innovated a lot. I mean, they have like all these things that they're offering now on live video.
Right.
So, and she's junior KG for God's sake. So.
Oh God! Wow.
So Zoom is already a part of her vocabulary.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of instances, I'm extremely glad that my daughter has moved out college. सब हो गया, नौकरी कर रही है, तो I'm very happy. Otherwise, getting into this is another big
stress point.
Absolutely. So she has school on Zoom and she has her dance classes on Zoom.
Uh-huh.
So we are actually living like the Black
So,
Mirror.
basically, it tells you very clearly that you need 56-inch TV in all the rooms with all connectivity, so that she can play her dance wherever she wants, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need a lot of Bluetooth speakers in the house. You need a large TV. You need motorbikes
Connectivity.
connectivity. Absolutely. So
That's it. So that's coming back to this orange video. So everybody is making content.
right.
A kid who is like, I see on Instagram, like a 4-year kid is saying, I am baking and I have my YouTube channel. Okay, okay, fair enough. And a lot of people saying that we are creating one ad for this, one ad for that, and वो ad का आजकल ऐसा है कि कोई एक कैमरा लेके जाता है और वो बनाता है, तो वो 1 लाख रुपए से बनाता है, और सदवीर के पास जाओगे तो अब वो 1 करोड़ मांगेगा.
Right.
Okay, so I mean the variance is huge, but typically a decent ad today, I think, from a decent content creator fits in between that 8 to 14-15 lakhs में जो respectable ad चाहिए वो. I mean, not something, for a large brand, but a regional brand, so to speak.
Right.
Now, given a scenario like this and given so many of this, what is different about Orange Video?
I would say that we have a stronger niche on the corporate video segment.
Okay.
We are not that much of an ad creator.
Okay.
But telling the story of a company, telling the human stories. So we've done a lot of work actually, and this happened by coincidence before we kind of made it as a USP.
Okay.
That we worked on a lot of employee stories, organization culture videos, that kind of stuff.
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a rather unique thing. I think a lot of times, again, I feel that people are wanting to do the seemingly creative work, which is creating an ad, which gives a kick to come up with a concept and to create that. But there are these whole human stories in organizations which kind of a lot of times the ad filmmakers are not interested in.
Okay.
So that
gives you a side benefit that the focus is very clear on non-advertising content. So
non-advertising content, yeah. And as you said, creating video content is no longer rocket science. I mean, anybody can do it, but storytelling is a skill. So I believe, like, it's like everybody has a camera today, right? You have like the best cameras on your mobile phone, but framing something to create a story out of a photograph is a skill which one may not have. So when our team engages to tell those stories more effectively, that's what differentiates one from budget or whatever you can do with the equipment. Years ago, I remember I tried to procure a drone for a shoot, and the prices were crazy. Like, the guy was demanding about 1 lakh for the usage of a drone. The times when there were very few drones. To get one for 5,000 a day, and it's everywhere. So there's no novelty in the drone.
Yes.
But if somebody can do a good shoot with it, there are guys out there who do a wonderful job, and they are in high demand.
Right. Okay. So if you were to today say that post-COVID, there are 2 accounts or 2 names which you would like to work with, what would they be, or which ones would they be?
Some of the existing clients that we have, or
no. I'm saying your clients are there with you. All of them is immaterial. I'm talking about somewhere where your hit list post-COVID, so to speak.
So we are really keen to work on a coffee brand. Again, the challenge that I see there is how will communication evolve once you're no longer talking of a cafe experience or come and sit and enjoy a cup of coffee with strangers, but yet keep the focus on the experience.
Okay.
So we recently made a pitch, and a lot of our work there talk about the experience of brewing coffee. So we moved away from the cafe culture to brewing a coffee and finding that connection between a cup and an individual.
Okay.
So rather than what restaurants or F&B used to be about conversations around. So the experience of the place was more important than what you're consuming.
Okay.
So here we are trying to bring it back to the consumption more, the whole effort of brewing and roasting coffee than the experience of a cafe. So that was one interesting thing that we did and made a lot of sense in this COVID era. Another brand that would interest me, actually looking at how they would evolve, would be somebody like a Zomato, for example, a Swiggy or a Zomato.
Okay.
Or Uber, for that matter. So how
Interesting. But those are the only problem with those are is most of them are in-house creative guys,
Right.
and very little is outsourced. At least Zomato outsources very, very marginal.
right?
Stuff.
True.
Swiggy does outsource, but a lot of outsourcing is done by Big Basket, Grofers,
True.
and Milk Basket in Delhi. All of them don't have the internal. You are from I am Bangalore or Ahmedabad?
Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad. So your colleagues have opened this milk thing, in Delhi.
Spare me. I mean, I don't see the rationale of.
No, I'm not talking about rational. That's their USP. They can do whatever they want. I'm talking. See, there are two things. One is my personal belief that it doesn't do anything. That's a separate thing. The second thing is pure business. कि आज मेरे को आके वो बोलेगा कि ये काम कर रहा है and we are willing to pay you, I will work with that.
Sure.
Let's not unnecessarily get into कि बॉस ये बोला तो मैं उसके साथ काम ही नहीं करेगा, मेरे को वो नहीं है. The reason why I said is they are building a very strong storyline. I'm sharing a couple of brands which are working on that.
Sure.
One is them. One is the same category में दो दूसरे IIM है जो बोलते हैं play school चला रहे. They are again searching for and build up of a storyline. And these are people who have funds but are not in the league of a Swiggy, Zomato kind of a thing.
Right.
स्विगी जोमेटो को करना भी होगा तो उसका वॉल्टर थॉमसन है तो उसको बुला के पूछेगा, ये करेगा, वो करेगा. So obviously you can always pitch. Nobody says you don't pitch. But fundamentally at the end of the day you are competing with somebody, and if somebody decides कि मेरे को 2 crore खर्चा करना है तो वो बकायदा करेगा.
Right.
So again, like Grofers is a very good story about Albinder going up, crashing down, getting funds, now moving correctly.
Right.
Is a lovely story to be told.
Right.
So I'm saying that yes, these brands are okay. Swiggy is fine. Grofers hai, Milk Basket hai. All of these are places which would work with a very strong story.
Grofers, I have a batchmate working with Grofers. We've discussed a communication actually when this whole Corona thing began. So they had come up with one joint video with Amazon, Grofers. There was one, 3-4 brands were there, and made a video which kind of talked about that we are there to serve India. Government played havoc with having some stupid restrictions, and they weren't able to deliver as much as they would have liked to. Not that they weren't prepared or they didn't want to. The intent was there. Machine didn't allow them at that time. So customer dissatisfaction, I think, grew a lot. It was all there online that I'm not getting a slot, or there were all these stories. But I think they could have communicated it a little better. A lot of them tried to be pompous about it. That yes, they want the story that they wanted to build was, yes, we are doing what we can. And a couple of days down the line, they were giving justifications for why they couldn't. So they could have that build up a little better. They could have made the customer a participant in the whole thing, saying that yes, we want to deliver. There might be certain delays. That honesty of purpose was somewhere lacking in the communication. Maybe not in what on the ground, but in the communication.
It was. But this coffee brand seems to be interesting. You could probably, once this COVID is down, we have this company which is called Coffee and Scotch.
Okay.
So Tushar and I are bringing together people who are like-minded on a particular topic, on a particular subject, around coffee, and getting teachers across from all the coffee brewers. So whatever India has, some 17 of them, we are in touch with all 17, and saying that how do we capture this, make out small snippets and talk about it and gather it into a storm where eventually, instead of just the Bombay, Bangalore kind of a thing, the B and C towns also understand coffee equally well.
Right.
They're also working with a client similar to on tea, who has one of the best bagans in Calcutta, in Darjeeling, and who also wants to take that approach. So these coffee thing is where, as you keep doing it, once this is over, when we have a meeting, I will pull you in and see what you want to do with these guys.
Yeah, interesting.
So, because we have got in principle agreement with Riaz Amlani and his brother, because they just launched a coffee brand, no?
They have this, dope.
Yeah.
Dope, yeah.
Correct. So he is very keen to do this as a storyline.
Sure.
And create different segments every time, because different people will be there.
So there's a huge interest in specialty coffee, and even Ran Vijay has a brand which is more of an instant coffee, but packaged with Rage. I think Rage.
Okay. So that's as I said, coffee and tea is a space, or beverages as a space is definitely very interesting, and the way it is growing is also very interesting.
Right.
So what is your stress buster, coffee or tea?
Coffee, definitely.
So do you call yourself a coffee drinker or a coffee snob or a coffee connoisseur?
No, I'm not a snob yet. I think I'm a coffee drinker. In general, with food and beverage, I'm not that fussy. So as long as I'm getting coffee for my coffee, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And vada pav versus pani puri?
Vada pav.
Okay. So in 2 years in Ahmedabad, and you never learned to like kadak rekdi ki chai, is it?
So I mood from tea to coffee completely switched, I think, maybe about 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Till that, I used to switch between tea and
Whatever was available and which was better was always the preference.
yeah. So at the tapri, you never go for coffee. I mean,
Correct.
it's the worst beverage that you can have with elaichi milk and whatnot. At the tapri, you have tea. No doubt about it. So if they're on the field and all you can get is tapri chai, then you're going for chai.
When traveling, do you prefer sleeping, watching, or reading?
Reading?
Okay.
I'm not too much of a watcher. I mean, I even in my short commute which I do to office once in a while, I would rather listen to music or these days I listen to some videos about business or about anything else, interesting concepts, but not much of a watcher as such.
That is interesting. Not much of a watcher, but still, is talking video.
Yeah. No, but watching, I mean, not a lot of consumption of.
Not basically a Netflix.
Not a Netflix or a.
कि टीवी पे चल रहा है देख लिया तो ठीक है.
Prime addict as such. So I have not watched GOT. I have not watched a lot of Narcos, Money Heist. So I've kept myself away from things which are binge and which would take like hours together.
Correct.
So usually my kind of content sweet spot is if it is anything more than 100 minutes, then it's going to be too long. So I prefer a Hollywood movie, action movie, which will get over in about 100 minutes, and that's fine. I mean, that's okay to do off to sleep.
I was personally, I was never a watcher, but recently I've turned a watcher, taking into consideration that I'm freaking out on Tamil, Telugu,
wow.
Malayalam movies, subtitled of course, but I find that some of their script is very engrossing to see. So I think I must have done close to 40-50 movies by now.
Wow.
And my reading has just gone sideways currently.
Lockdown, I have not been able to read a lot at all. Yeah.
My reading is typically, I would say, 160, 175 books a year. Most of them fiction, little on business. But I don't, any book which is recommended by an HR professional, I would not read that book. And anything which is, anything which is US written, I rarely touch those books.
Which is the last good book that you would recommend to people?
I have a whole host of books on Seth Godin and all of them, but my favorite book, which I keep going back to over and over again, is Execution, Larry Bossidy.
Okay, yeah.
Because I believe that strategy is just a word, execution is the key.
Is the real thing.
Yeah. So if, you find 10 people in a cafe, all 10 of them are talking about ideas with Apple Macs and all of them. And you find one person sitting in one corner scribbling on his notebook or on back of the napkin. That person is more likely to execute faster than all the Apple guys sitting in that room.
True.
So
yeah. So my learning has been, as an entrepreneur, I think that you need to come up with one idea every 10 years, maybe in a decade.
But execute that idea.
Execute that for the next couple of years. I mean, if you can get one decent idea, it may not be path breaking. A lot of times, decent ideas are good enough for your bread, butter, and more.
Oh, yeah.
So, one good idea, one decent idea, and if you're willing to put in effort for the next couple of years, like they say in Gujarati, the first 1,000 days.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Once you are past that, then I think you have a winner.
So I reverse the trend in this 1,000 days. I call it my BOT.
Uh-huh.
So even in my professional career, I have always worked on that. So immediately on recruitment, the first year is spent on building that product or the company. The second year, I own the company. So I should be either number 2 or number 1 in that category. Third year, I start the transfer. So my subordinates or whoever it is start coming and occupying positions where slowly, even if I leave, nothing gets hampered.
Right.
And
that's a nice concept. Yeah.
At 3.5 years, mostly I'm out of the company unless there is something, different being offered. So, and I find it suits my temperament also, because I lose interest after, only sales is not what I like.
Right.
That's it.
So I think that a lot of projects that one gets involved in are very vanity to begin with. You want to do something, and eventually you want to find a way to make money out of it.
Correct.
And those are the ones which you passionately get involved in. So you kind of then do everything to make sure that it succeeds.
Yes.
And even if it doesn't.
Yeah, but see, technically what happens is where you have the benefit of good, colleagues or peers and subordinates. Your passionate project may necessarily not be their passionate project. And you end up losing good people. So throughout my career, my passionate projects, I have always kept it with me and one more person or something. Until it does not get ready for takeoff, not many people would get involved in it.
Right.
Because otherwise I have realized that अरे यार वही बकवास सुनने के लिए बुला रहा है and अपने को नहीं करना है, मेरा अभी अटका हुआ है project. How will I be measured on his project when appraisals come?
Right.
Now those are very valid questions. And so I guess what works for everybody doesn't work for somebody and vice versa. But the fact of the matter is, I believe that a project becomes successful once your passion is no longer there.
True.
Because in passion, you think only the positives. You never look at the negatives.
Yeah.
Once you are slapped on your passion, then suddenly all the negatives come about and say, okay, now I need to take a non-emotional call, very pragmatic call.
Right.
And
true. So I wanted to ask you actually early on, but then we just started. So how are you looking at you've spoken to so many people. So this whole jolt that we have got in terms of a lockdown, the economy being shut, and I was talking to a couple of my friends. One of the guys happens to be a doctor, is advocating for at least a 4 to 6 month lockdown, and I said I'd rather be dead than not do anything for so long. So this whole human life versus what makes us human, which is going out there and actually taking a reasonable risk reward thought in our minds and going out there. So how do you see this?
Yeah, anybody who has a house of their own and is used to good things in life has nothing else to do but get out of Zoom and webinars and comment saying that we should be human towards employees and X and a Y or a Z. I'm asking an entrepreneur one very simple question. What should an entrepreneur do? खुद को बचाए या वो 11 आदमी को बचाए? Everybody, on one hand, we keep saying that सब खुद की तकदीर लेके आया है, destiny लेके आया है, all of that. So, boss, I have recruited you. Okay, I can understand 1 more month I will pay you, right? But at some point of time, you have to come and meet me halfway, saying that बहुत बाकी का 2 महीना 50% या 30% में ही काम चलाएंगे. मेरे सर्वाइवल के लिए मेरे को 10,000 की जरूरत है, आप 35 की जगह पे मेरे को 10,000 या 12,000 दे दीजिए, and then we will.
Right.
Which is not the case. Most employees are socialists when this problem occurs.
Right.
And they are capitalists when they come to you for a job. कि अमेरिका में तो 5 दिन ही काम करते हैं और इतना पगार मिलता है. ठीक. But they don't realize that America you are sacked given 1 week's notice also.
Right.
That is not convenient to them. And they have this, what I called as uneducated literats and all of them who, चढ़ाते रहते हैं कि अरे ये तो देना ही चाहिए, वो तो होना ही चाहिए. When you go into their background and investigate, which I have done and which is why I don't, point out fingers to them, I realize that they have not paid their driver salaries for 3 months. Maid और उनको भी दिया नहीं है. But they will keep clamoring. So there is a good part and the bad part. I personally think, having undergone, I don't know, to begin with the Baroda Ahmedabad riots, which used to be every year. Okay, and this is probably before you were born. So then the Surat plague, the SARS, the 26/11, the 9/11, right? The tsunami, okay, and now you have the COVID. The difference has been geographical perspective. आदमी मरे तो हर दफे उतने ही मरे, ठीक है. On the contrary, लॉकडाउन में कम मर रहे हैं क्योंकि वो रेलवे ट्रैक क्रॉस करने नहीं जा रहा है कोई. Right. So instead of thinking about this and what can I do next, most of the people are getting into that life coaching business. 199 रुपए, अरे उसमें तो खाली लाइफ कोच को ही पैसा मिल रहा है, तेरे को नहीं मिल रहा है. रोज सुबह हो कि नहीं तुम डीप ब्रीथ लो, डोंट थिंक दैट इज व्हाई यू विल सर्वाइव. फक सर्वाइवल यार, व्हाट एम आई गोइंग टू डू वंस दिस डैम थिंग इज ओवर? I should be thinking about that. When I ask entrepreneurs questions that during this period, what are you doing with clients? No, we are talking to clients for retainers. कि कम मत करो, ज्यादा मत करो. I said, okay, you are doing nothing and your people are being paid, no? बोला हाँ, they are being paid. So I said, can you do one thing? Take your top 3 clients. In the last 6 months, what have you delivered to them? And what can you add value to them for the next 3 months? And tell them that, okay, इतना आपका लिखा हुआ था कि ये 3 महीना हम हमारे तरफ से कर रहे हैं, but we don't negotiate on price. We will negotiate on service. We had committed 4 services, we will give you 6 services. But we won't negotiate on price. I said, there will be 1 or 2 clients who will agree to that. Because then they are removing an agency completely. Because कई client हो तो 2, 3, 4 agency रखते हैं ना. So that is there. Second is, what is it from his business? In 6 months, you should know his business. What is it there where you could be of use to him? I mean, just a doodle of, for the HR perspective. 10 slide का doodle बना के एक छोटा सा वीडियो बना के भेज दिया, बोला this is for your internal circulation, sir, from us. Now, honestly, that would cost you maybe 2 hours of your designer work or something.
Sure.
But the client is extremely happy because he never thought of it. Right. So,
right.
When you do that and you keep in touch with the client, the top of mind recall once this is over is you and not somebody else. But khali sir kaise ho, safe hona, ye hai, wo hai, that doesn't work, yaar. I don't want 20 agencies calling me up every day and asking me, are you safe or not? Right. So my take on it is, luxury will improve. Aviation will take a little time, but hospitality will improve, luxury will improve, lifestyle will improve. Wedding season पूरा खा गया है, वो वापस आएगा. Okay. And what agency guys have to realize is for 10 lakh rupees as a retainer or 1 lakh rupees as a retainer, I was doing the 7 things. Now that 7 things are over, given that 6 months are passed or 1 year is passed, that 7 things are over. What are the 2 things which can either give publicity to my client or drive business to my client?
Sure.
Awareness or business. What are the 2 things that can do, and can I begin that for him today? The probability of the client still sticking to you for the same price is much, much higher.
Absolutely.
And even if the client has said कि नहीं मेरे को छोड़ देना है अगले महीने से, ठीक है, उसको 3 महीने के लिए करके दो ना, तुम्हारा तो ऐसे भी फिक्स कॉस्ट तो लगा हुआ ही है.
Right.
So the moment you do it for them, 5 के लिए करके दिया, उसमें से 3 ना बोलेगा, कोई 2 तो नेगोशिएट करेगा. So I mean, honestly, on webinars giving gyan on how COVID will affect industry and all that, it's a crock of bullshit.
You know, we've not done that. So I said that we are not going to do anything on COVID going to impact your business and what you should do. I said people know, and people will. I mean, there is enough and more out there. So with our clients, this is exactly what we did. We said, you know, we want to build a relationship which will be beyond this. Maybe the retainer would come to half or whatever. Maybe we'll negotiate it for the next 3 months, 6 months. But tell us, or we will tell you what more we can do right now to make your job easier.
And
so this is.
I'll give you a classic example. When the Surat plague happened, okay, I used to work for Cox and Kings. Maximum people going to Singapore and Bangkok were from Surat. They would come with bags full of cash. I'm not kidding. It collapsed completely. Right? We had bookings and everything done for 3 months in advance. We had paid in advance. So it was like, you know, Cox and Kings would crash. You know. We went to BPL Mobile, which had just launched. And we negotiated with them saying that तुम पैसा मत दो, तुम्हारा होर्डिंग है ना, बस स्टॉप है, होर्डिंग है, अब बॉम्बे शहर में मेरे को कितना 15 दिन के लिए फ्री दे सकते हो वो करो. And to all your subscribers, we will have this offer. Saying what offer? I said instead of 18,999, we'll do 16,999 for your customers. We outsold the inventory which we had collected, doubled it, again outsold. By the time Surat recovered, I mean, in Singapore and Bangkok, we had to just pick up the phone and say कि ये hotel रख लो हमारे लिए, and the hotel will check out people and keep it for us.
Right.
But that was something which I keep sharing with people, saying that don't go. आज COVID है, COVID सुधरेगा तो मेरे को क्या होगा मत सोचो ना तुम. You assume that for the next 2 years, if I am going to survive here, my client also cannot stop. वो बाहर तो जा ही नहीं सकता है.
Right.
बाहर जा नहीं सकता तो करेगा क्या? कुछ ना कुछ तो खेलना पड़ेगा ना उसको. So somewhere I am, you know, betting against all of this, but more learned and more, you know, educated people say that no, luxury will collapse, hospitality will collapse. So, I'm talking about my observations and my experience over the last 15, 20 odd years, where I have seen that it has not happened. 6 महीने पहले 32,000 में तुमने गोल्ड खरीदा था, आज 48,000 है और दिवाली तक 62,000 जाएगा. जो भी ज्वेलर ने 2 किलो गोल्ड लेके रखा है वो तो फॉरवर्ड ट्रेडिंग में हो गया ना यार, उसका तो पैसा. हाँ, तो कौन सा लॉस यार, कहाँ का लॉस? Your Orange Vision is working on a 40% margin. क्लाइंट ने 15% निकाल दिया तो भी प्रॉफिट तो है ना. सुपर नॉर्मल प्रॉफिट जो एक्सपेक्ट करते थे वो नहीं है.
Absolutely.
So, but let's see. I have tweeted about the industries and all of that, that these are the industries which will survive and come back very quickly. So let's see how far that comes true.
No, I think I just believe that we saw a 9/11 and we came back. We saw, I mean, in my lifetime, every possible catastrophe that is there, thrived, in fact.
Amay, this is a classic, the word which we use, reallocation of assets and, containment. Okay, real estate needs to come back to a good price, which demonetization में हुआ, उसके बाद हुआ, अभी और होगा. A time will come when the consumer has to feel कि मैं यार 60,000 रुपए का 1 तोला सोना लेता हूँ, उसके जगह पे घर क्यों नहीं खरीदता हूँ मैं. Once that comes in, basically you are saying that dead investment को you are putting it into live investment.
Right.
And that is what the correction is all about, right? One of the few things which Kamath and Deepak Parekh taught me was that every 5 years, expect a correction. And every 4 years, if you are a professional, 3.5, 4 years, if you don't double your salary, you will never be able to beat the correction.
Right.
So, I don't know. I have always followed some principles of learning from people who understand business better. So that's it. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, like, share, and subscribe to the 1 Hour Mentor, Anak Desai.